Okay, I've measured out my apple cider vinegar. There's 43 ounces in here, and then I've measured out my lye, which was 20.82 ounces, and I expect this to get very hot. I've never made shampoo bars in this big a batch, because normally I make smaller batches that fit in my crock pot for the hot process method, but today I need to make a bigger batch, and it's just not going to fit in my crock pot. So we're going to do the cold processed, oven process, so I'm going to gel it. So I'm going to slowly add lye to the vinegar, and it's going to get stinky. I'm going to turn on my fan. I've pre-measured all my oils, so that's all in here. The darker specks of stuff that you see in there is marshmallow root powder that I added to it. I added about, probably about a quarter cup. And that is in addition to what I had infused in the non-GMO canola oil. So now I'm going to add in my lye vinegar. It's cooled off a bit, but it's still quite warm. I've never made shampoo bars cold process. I've always done it in the crock pot, so this is kind of new to me. Well, the process isn't new, but the shampoo bars this way is new. I'm going to add my essential oils now, which I've chosen rosemary and lavender essential oil. I'm using about 60% lavender and 40% rosemary. You can use whichever ratio you want. The usage rate for both of these oils happen to be the same. It didn't take long for this to get fairly thick. It's because I'm soaping quite hot, and I did use a water discount, or a vinegar discount. And it has a very low superfat of 3%. I can feel the heat coming off that soap. I am going to gel this, although I may not need to even put it in the oven. It has, with the wooden molds, it'll keep the heat in there fairly good, and I think it'll gel without much help. We'll go ahead and try to give this a bit of a textured top here. I'll just even this out. Oh my, that is thicker than I thought. I'm not going for perfection, I'm just going for, I don't know, swirls, imperfect swirls. The soap in itself is pretty near perfection anyway. The marshmallow root is really nice in shampoo bars. It adds like a nice shine or slip to the hair. There's also horsetail herb that I had harvested in here as well that I had infused into argan oil. Some pretty special oils. It's my first time using marshmallow root. Okay. I love this shape molds for my shampoo bars, so if I have extra batter I put it in here, and it's what I use. It fits in the hand perfectly. Sorry if my bucket is blocking your view. Sometimes too, if you happen to have dried rosemary on hand, you could always add that. Add some powder to your shampoo bar, or infuse it, or make a into oil or make a tea with it. Also with the marshmallow root, you can make a tea with it as well, like in warm water, not hot. But I just did not do that this time. I just infused it in oil. Maybe next time I'll infuse it in tea, and then I'll note the differences, if any, if there was in the final outcome of the product. So that is that. I think I'm just going to leave it on the counter and let it gel on its own, because I'm pretty certain it's going to go do that. Normally I will put it in my oven at 170 degrees, but that's not going to be necessary. And if I'm wrong and I realize this, I will just maybe pop it in the oven for a little bit. And if I do that, I'll be sure to include you in that process. It's a lovely texture. I love working with a thick soap texture. It's about 6 hours later, and I'm ready to cut my shampoo bars. It never went into a full gel. It actually was a partial gel. And I'll show you maybe a better example. But if you can see, like, it's still light around the top edge, that's where it did not gel. But the rest of it is like a darker tan, that's where it did gel. It's pretty soft still. This is almost a full complete gel. And it never had to go in the oven. So that is that. I'll let these cure for a few weeks and then I'll test them out.